Welcome back to another episode of the Success Times Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Richard Thompson. Today, I'm joined by Gemma Mitchell, financial advisor turned money coach and author of The Money Reset. In this episode, we unpack Gemma's personal journey through financial challenges, divorce, and ultimately transformation. Together, we explore why money isn't just about numbers. It's about mindset, values, and creating a life aligned with what truly matters to you. Whether you're navigating a personal reset or just want to improve your financial well-being, today's conversation will give you the tools and inspiration to start afresh. She's been on Sunrise, she's been on the Today Show, now she's with us. Let's dive in. Gemma Mitchell, thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Talk to me about a moment, I guess your lowest moment in your life with regards to finances. And was there a pivotal moment where you thought, I have to start over with money, but like on my terms now?
Yes. So throughout my career, and this goes back like probably into childhood, I've had a very complex relationship with money. And I now realize that. It took me a long time to realize that. And I talk about this a lot. There are things that look like they're good habits with money, and there are people that look like they are good with money and got their money stuff sorted. But there are habits that can be very unhealthy. And so now when I look back, I was like, okay, so yes, I was always good with money, but I had quite an unhealthy attachment to it and the way that I managed the restriction and different things.
Can you go into that?
Yeah, so money mindset plays a huge part in our lives. So I was always good with money, good with saving, always had a plan from very, very young, always had my life mapped out and what I wanted to do, goals, things, and made them happen. But then I would have, like a lot of guilt around spending when it wasn't in line with that big goal. And money's a tool for us to enjoy. So I had a lot of restriction and guilt in my life, and I set the bar too high. I was working, like if I could give my 20-year-old self some advice, I'd be like, chill out, like just calm down a little bit. So I was always good with money, but I had some unhealthy habits with it, set the bar too high, was very restrictive, had guilt around spending. Then I became a financial advisor, and I love helping people. But it also kind of propelled that unhealthy relationship with money, because I would see people in great financial positions and I would be like, I need that for my family. Like, this is what I do all day, every day. I have a huge responsibility to make sure me and my family are in a great position. And on the flip side, I'd see people in terrible situations and I would be like, I can't let that happen to us. So it kind of propelled this unhealthy relationship with money. And it wasn't until my divorce that I really had to do all of the work and reset how I manage money, how I set goals. And that's where my book, The Money Reset, comes from. And I had to address like all those. I'd already been working on them. I'd been very aware of them. I'd been working on them. But I really had to strip back like all of what I thought success was and what my goals were. And were they really my goals, or were they what I thought I should have, society, my ex-husband's goals? Like it was a big thing to go through. And that's where the Money Reset was born, because I was like, if I find this so hard and I help people with these huge transitions, I've been doing this for over 15 years. If I'm finding it so hard, how does the everyday person do it? That was a very
I love this, and I can't wait for this. I can't wait for this chat, and I appreciate your honesty. I agree with you. I think that it's such a complex idea of money and wealth, and we are all shaped, and it's all relative to our own experiences. Talk to me about when you say from an early age you were good with money, or let's define that as
from the outset what we deem good with money.
Right. But also you are such a product of your upbringing as a child, and now I've got children myself, and I understand my relationship with money is in line with my childhood and what I saw and what I was exposed to. So for you personally, Gem, like what do you think, what was your environment, and how do you think that environment as a child allowed you to be quote unquote good with money?
Yeah, I try to work out where this comes from. So if we look at studies, our money mindset, so how we think, feel, behave about money, is generally embedded in us by about age 7. So I kind of think back and I know that my grandma was always kind of saving coins and then she'd give us different like bags of coins. I think they were 50-cent pieces. And I know my mum always had lists, grocery lists, budgets and different things. So I think I was just soaking up those types of things. But my brain has always been a planner. I love to plan for things, whether it's monetary, life goals, whatever it is. I love a plan and that makes me feel very in control. So I do see habits in my grandma and my mum from that. But the funny thing about that is my brother and sister, they grew up in the exact same environment and they are totally opposite to me with money, goals, like could not get them to write a list or use a spreadsheet. And I'm just like, give it to me.
Yeah.
So it is very strange how we have these different upbringings even in the same environment. But this is why couples, when they come together, find it so hard to manage money because they've grown up in completely different environments. And money, it really, like, it shouldn't, but it is tied to our self-worth a lot of the time. It's tied to our purpose, our sense of security. It impacts, like, a lot of our thoughts, feelings and behaviours. So, yeah, mine stemmed from quite young. I think I was... Yeah, I can remember having savings goals at around 7 to 10. Like there used to be a show, we have the Nambour show and stuff here. So there was a show once a year where I grew up and I would save my money for it so I knew which rides that I could go on and like I just was always planning for something well in advance. But that carried on into like later in life where I always had these big goals and that can put a lot of pressure on yourself to make sure that success happens when you've got goals. And I definitely talk about that in the book, how that feels when divorce isn't on your checklist, your checklist for success. Yeah, failure is very hard when you're a planner like I have been my whole life.
Well, I think also you would plan contingencies, the known unknowns.
Yes.
But when you get hit in the face with an unknown, I guess like as something that you're not contemplating to disrupt the plan, like divorce, it really throws you.
Yeah.
But there's opportunity there, I guess, which is where you've come from. And I can only imagine, and I don't know whether you share this sentiment, but for that, you're not here.
Yes. So I talk about this in the book. So the book isn't just about divorce. It's like anything that kind of is your plot twist. And that might be an internal awakening at 40 or 50 going like, what am I doing? Are these my goals? Why am I still doing the same thing? Maybe it's not working. So that kind of shake up, regardless if it's a devastating event like the loss of a loved one, sickness, divorce like mine. I call it a slingshot moment. And it's like, yes, it's devastating. You didn't want to be here, but you can use it as an opportunity to really propel forwards. And it was quite hard writing the book because I'm like, divorce, think of it as an opportunity. Like now you are totally in control of your money, your goals. It's exciting. But I know that some people that pick up the book, that's not their reality. So trying to be help people see it as a really
Could you see it
amazing opportunity.
The opportunity that is?
Yeah, I think I always could because I always help people in this situation. I could, but that didn't make it any easier. So I remember being like just really not coping. I talk about it a bit. I kind of thought that my divorce would happen and I would be, because it was my decision and I had been thinking about it for a while. I kind of thought that once it was done, like I'd left, that it would be linear and that I would just be getting better and better and life would get better. And I think it got to 12-month mark and then I spiraled. I think I was in survival mode in the first 12 months and I was ticking the boxes. Okay, yes, we have to do this. Yes, we have to do that. Okay, he's okay. The kids are they seem like they're doing fine. Okay, things are going quite well. And then I think it got to the 12-month anniversary and I was like, now it's my turn to absolutely spiral. And that's when the real work started. My reset, everything, emotionally, financially. But I didn't expect it at all. I was like, I've got this. I help people with this all the time. And I realized that I had all the theory, but none of the emotional complexity of it at all.
Your path to finance and advisory, I guess, stems from you're in the finance game for over 2 decades. When was the pivot where you put on the hat of I actually want to help people? Was it early on in that path?
Yes.
In terms of like the one-on-one coaching, and now you sit with the book, etc. Like you're wanting to help many people rather than individual clients. When did that come in?
Yeah, so when I was I moved overseas when I was 18, and when I got back after 2 years, I started working in a bank, and I realized how much I loved helping people with their money and that type of stuff. And so when you work in a bank, there's kind of a couple of career paths you can take. You can be a manager, you can be a lender, or you could be a financial advisor. That was my interpretation of my options. And I was like, I want to be a financial advisor. So I started that, and I was a financial advisor for probably maybe 8 or 10 years. Not great at maths, no. And I felt really burnt out. You can only see a set amount of clients a year. You'd have a one-on-one meeting with them, which was great. I absolutely loved that. But then you go away and work on a file and do a statement of advice and research for 10, 20 hours. And and there's so much red tape. There's so many ways you want to help the client, but it's such a regulated industry. And I just got really burnt out. And I was like, can't do this anymore. And at the time, I only saw my career options then. So again, a planner, I'm always looking ahead. I saw my career options as I'm going to have to do this for the rest of my career. I decided I was going to do a career break. I was like, I'm burnt out. I just need some time out. I'm going to take 2 years off. And my ex-husband and I, we set off in the caravan. We had the 2 kids. We traveled around Australia. But within a couple of weeks, I had this coaching business set up. And he had actually said to me, my ex-husband for years was like, people always want to come around for a cup of tea and talk to you about money. They just need somebody to talk to. And I was like, he's like, that's a business. And I was like, no, it's not. It's not a financial service. We have financial advice. We have this, we have that. Very compliance. That's not a thing. And he was just like, yes, it is. People will pay for it. And I was like, you can't regulate it. Da, da, da. So no, I was very against it. Anyway, we set off in the caravan. I'm like, do you know what? I am just going to do, at the time, I'm going to call it consulting, and just do one-off appointments where you just chat to people about their general stuff, not financial advice, not that stuff. And then I met a whole heap of money coaches who were like, hey, we do the same as you. We're ex-advisors. We call it money coaching. And I was like, great, I'm going to call it money coaching too. And I really loved that. I found my passion. But get to a couple of years in and I'm burnt out again because you can only see so many clients. And that's where I kind of started doing podcasts and corporate workshops. And I just loved that scalable stuff. And I loved connecting people with the right coach or the right advisor or the right lawyer, whatever it was, just understanding people's what they needed and helping them find the right person, because it was never always going to be me. I'm not the best at what I do, but I bet you I know the best for you. So, yeah, right. And I was like, and this is going to protect my my mental health, make sure I'm not burnt out. And yeah, so podcasts started, books started, and now I absolutely love my coaching clients, but I've noticed my capacity and I try to keep it to 2 clients a week.
Yeah, okay.
That's my capacity. That's where I just absolutely still love them and they don't feel like a chore and I can balance all the other things that I want to do.
And is that a day? How often is with your one-on-one coaching? How often are they speaking to you? How often are they?
Yeah, so I call it coaching, but I probably shouldn't. I should call it consulting because I do one-offs. So there's some amazing money coaches that will really work with mindset and things, and they might do, one a week or one every couple of months. But the types of clients I get, I love strategy and making technical information really understandable. So mine are more like consulting. It's helping people test their learnings, understand different concepts and stuff. So yeah, I should call it consulting, but I call it money coaching because everybody else was.
The money reset, as you said, and there's obviously a gap in the market that you saw about this crucible moment in people's lives, a slingshot moment, as you sort of said, about, well, how do I reframe? What do I do with, where are my goals? Where am I progressing now in life? I have 2 questions about it. One is, other than your own lived experience, what was your experience when you realized that there was that need or that gap? And secondly, did you find that it's obviously confronting at a relevant time, like divorce, like death, or something that significant happens in someone's life that jolts them into like, all right, I need to step up here.
Mm-hmm.
But is there also a suite of clients who are just aimless, but they're not, there isn't that slingshot moment. There isn't that like T intersection in their life, but they're just like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. And
Yes,
but,
happens all the time. In the book, I think unlearning what you're doing and what you know and what you think you know is just as important as learning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of so anyone can pick this book up. You could be 40, 50, 60, like whatever. Like, well, retirement's one of the biggest money resets we need. How we've managed money in the past and our thoughts, feelings, behaviours around money needs to change in retirement. There's a huge shift. But yeah, it's doesn't have to be this external event. It can be, I need a check if what I'm doing is what I should be doing, and strip everything back to basics. And if you do the activities in the book, reset your goals, question everything, and you come out to the same answers, that's amazing, right? It doesn't mean that you have to overhaul everything. It might give you the validation that, oh, this is actually my goal and this is why it's important to me. But so often in life we just go through the motions, and we've got these goals and ideas and how we manage money because we learned it from our parents, or it's what society expects, or we heard it somewhere and we just ran with it. So this is about just kind of stripping it back to the basics and being like, is this how I should be doing it? Is this how it works best for me? And, you might pick up the book and skip a heap of chapters because you're like, I'm totally fine with my budget or how I manage my bank accounts, or I'm all over my insurance because I got advice. I'm going to skip that chapter. You don't have to go, the 12 steps all through them. You can jump around. And I purposely did that because if you are going through something that's a lot, like the loss of someone, sickness, divorce, I didn't want people to have just another thing that they had to do, that this was just a big task.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted people to go, I only have capacity for this one thing right now. I'm going to skip to the thing that's keeping me up at night. But yeah, that's how it came about, is I wanted it to be something that you could pick up and just strip everything back to basics. And I noticed, back to your point on, noticing that there was a need for this book, is I felt a lot of finance books went from, if you're building 0 to 100, but what if you get to halfway through your journey and then it all comes crashing down, or you're questioning if you're actually on the right path? I was like, how do you reset your path halfway through? And as I said, it's all about unlearning just as much as learning.
In anyone's journey, because the byline in the book is take control of your money and your life. My primary next question is, do those things need to happen together? Because, like you said at the beginning, money's the vehicle, and it's an interesting concept, or just a general idea of money, because it's effectively worthless as a thing. It's only as valuable as to what it can be used for exchange. But without it, it's enormously stressful if you're working, if you're working paycheck to paycheck. But also it is given to us in exchange for our journey, effectively.
Our time, yeah.
Yeah, our time or our energy. It's one thing, I guess, to have monetary goals or financial goals, because there's no fun in the poorhouse, but is it not more tied to, well, what are we wanting to do with that money?
Yeah.
Once we're out of the effective poorhouse, once we're out of the immediate risk of having nothing, how aligned do we need to be with our values, with our goals, non-financial goals, but invariably become financial goals because everything costs money.
Linked. Yeah.
How do we judge? How do we balance those relationship between what we want to do in life and what we need to do?
Yeah, it's
money.
so important. And this is the thing, money doesn't buy happiness, but it definitely buys the things that make us happy. It makes us feel safe and secure, and it can take a lot of stress out of our lives. So it's not about amassing huge amounts of wealth. It's about balance on how do you enjoy today and how do you make sure you're still setting yourself up to enjoy tomorrow. And money is absolutely just a tool for us to fund the life we want. So in the book, there's a whole chapter on goals and how you get back to your values and why is that actually important to you. And I talk about in the book as well, financial flexibility. So you might, this is where I actually contradict myself. So as financial professionals, we and I have always said you need to be really clear on your goals and your values and why that's important to you. Otherwise, you can't work towards them. And why I contradict that is because I still think that's true. But in the book, I talk about it's okay not to know what your goals are. Like if you've gone through this big plot twist, you might not know what the next 6 months looks like, let alone 6 years. How do you plan for a life when you are so overwhelmed with how you make it to tomorrow, let alone setting big goals? So I have pulled back on you must have really set goals and things. It's about knowing your values and what's important to you. And when you do the activities in the book and you really dive deep into that, it makes it a lot clearer on what your goals are and why they're important. Like nobody wants a home loan. They want that facilitates them to get a house. And that house means for most people safety, security, memories. So it's just about drilling back, taking it back different layers. And I talk in the book, like I couldn't plan. I had no goals for the first time in my life. And that was really scary for me. I was like, what do I put on my spreadsheet? Like I always set goals every year.
Yeah.
And I had no idea how my divorce settlement was going to land or I moved house 3 times in the first 12 months and it was just really, really unsettling. And you've had Emma Stevens on the podcast before. She's a very good friend of mine and she would call me every single day, like, are you out of bed? Have you gone for a walk? And she just forced me, bullied me pretty much. Yeah, bullied me into doing a vision board. And I'm like, I am not a vision board person. I am a spreadsheet person. So did this vision board finally and now I'm a massive believer in that. And I just had 3 words on it: happier, healthier, wealthier. I was like, I have no idea what my goals are. I have no idea what's going to happen with my finances. But I know that every single day I want to be happier, healthier, and wealthier. And on that path, when I work out my goals, I'm going to need to be all those things. So I talk about that, just knowing that do whatever's in your capacity. So if you don't know that you want a family home or you want to move or whatever, work out what your capacity is to save, invest, get your finances sorted, reset your money, do whatever's at your capacity. So the minute that you know what life looks like and you get excited about the future again and you come out of that fog, you're already well on your way and you're not starting from scratch then.
I finished up with this professional sport and abruptly, to a certain degree, not knowing what I was going to do for the rest of my life, maybe 2.5 years ago. And I sat there for about 3 months. I didn't have Emma Stevens asking for a vision board.
Do a vision board.
But I just sat there and I didn't know. And I just saw the bank balance drop and drop and drop. It took me that long probably to get to that realization of, well, whatever it is, I've got to move forward towards it, not wait for it to be the perfect goal. Because I'm similar to you. I'm so goal orientated, or at least the direction orientated, going, this is where we're headed. Yes. Let's go for it. But I just didn't have that direction or that goal. So it was really challenging for me. And I knew that whatever I would set that to, I'd go get it.
Yes.
But I was waiting and waiting.
But how do you set it? Yeah.
And it just was never coming. And so then I came to the realization, probably because the bank balance was almost zero, but to say, okay, well, I do know that I've got probably at least 20 years or 15 years of tuition for the kids, and I want to set that up, and I want to create a life that they can be proud of and financially stable. So I probably don't want to go back to law. I probably won't like it. But as a short answer, let's try that.
Yeah. And just give you some purpose and some income coming in. And sometimes it's not what we want to do, but it's what we need to do. And then we can find our purpose along the way.
And so, so very thankful that I loved being back in law. And then that whole entrepreneurial mindset thing came back into me. And I was like, I could actually achieve what I wanted to achieve, use the values that I have and I know in law and create, big goal, amazing team, great culture to achieve something remarkable. Yes. Which I would have had in the sport. implemented in business. And so, but for, I think, getting off my ass and going, begrudgingly going back into law, but for that, I wouldn't have been here. So I take your point. I think it's hard, but worthwhile to say.
And it's our mindset that holds us back, right? And that is so hard to overcome. It's like, and there's
so much value in that.
There's
so much value in that because you teach yourself that you can act without motivation, without, the yahoos and the let's go for it, without the goal.
Yeah.
You're going forward, you're progressing your values, you're progressing your health, your wealth, and your happiness, or, that fulfillment, without necessarily knowing where the end point is.
Yes.
And that's so reassuring and there's so much value in it for yourself and your own being.
Yeah. Like I work with people, mainly divorced people at the moment. And, one of the things that just comes up every single time is them feeling stuck, not being able to make a move because they don't know what life's like. And I said it myself, when I got separated, I was like, I'm not going to buy a family home. I'm what you consider a rent investor. Because I was like, I'm probably going to meet somebody soon. They might have kids. Like, we'll build that life together. It's 3 years and I'm getting, I'd say, more single. So I'm like, the more dates I go, the more I want to be single. But I didn't just sit there going, okay, well, don't do anything because you want to find a new partner and buy a house. I was like, I can afford an investment property. I can afford to do this. I can afford to keep building my share portfolio. So I'm building financial flexibility that I'm doing these things. But if that happens, amazing, I will have the means and I'll already be on the journey. But so many people, I just had one last week and she was like, yeah, but I want to meet someone and buy a house together. And I'm like, yeah, cool. That might happen in 6 months. It might happen in 6 years. What can we do right now that moves your situation forward, that you're not sitting on the sidelines waiting for something that may happen or may not? And you might get a lot of fulfillment either way. Like, let's just make sure we're all doing within our capacity so that it gives us more choices as life evolves.
What's your advice with clients who they're on the path? And I appreciate some of the clients are divorced. They're in that perilous position, which is, incredible to have your experience, your knowledge, assisting them. But if you had set goals, and this might be for you as well, right, personally, but if you set goals and you say, okay, because there's some study about when you said money doesn't buy you happiness, but there is some study that shows that up until a certain point, there is a increased level of happiness, and I wish I had that.
Well, it comes with safety, security, all of these things. Yeah.
But then I think and it obviously it's adjusted for inflation each year. But I think last time I saw it, it's about, I don't know, $85,000 a year or $75,000 or something like around that minute. Where the more you get up until that point, it ticks off all the boxes of safety, security, house, whatever. And then after that,
plateaus.
Well, it doesn't plateau, but it's a diminishing return.
Yeah.
So you're not twice as happy with 100 and something, double the income. You're not twice as happy as you were at 80 because
absolutely
it drops off. And to the point where after some level of income, I don't know what it was, 300 or 400, there is no increase of happiness, no change into your fulfillment or your desires or happinesses. But as you're progressing and hitting those goals that you've set, let's say wind it back 3 years ago, and you've said, okay, I need to get myself out of this. These are my goals. As you progress and achieve them, do you find it challenging to go, well, I'm otherwise secure. I've ticked all my boxes that I want to tick. It's taken me, 3 years or 4 years, but hasn't taken me my lifetime. I'm here now. How do you advise someone to reset them when the values propositions, the goals that you've achieved, the goals that you've set are all ticked?
Yeah.
And other than just it's like the lifestyle, avoiding the lifestyle creep.
The lifestyle creep, that's it. Yeah, very dangerous.
And the idea of just keeping up with the Joneses for the sake of it. But how do you then reset what is truly your value in terms of wealth creation when you've already you've set the goals based on what your values are and you've achieved them? What do you do next?
That's an amazing position to be in. But in my experience, they're always evolving, and you should be doing the work along the way to check in with your goals, with your values. And I just find that, yes, you might get your baseline ticked off, but I find that the needle is always moving on what is going to bring you fulfillment or goals. So I don't see too many clients that are in this, let's say 40s and things, obviously in 60s, like retirement, absolutely. But I just always find that people's goals and their values are evolving, that it's always kind of a moving target. But doing the work, like your finances shouldn't be set and forget. Your super shouldn't be set and forget. Like these are things, your goals, your mindset, you should be having regular check-ins. Even if it's once a year, you should be having check-ins. Like inflation's moving. The needle is always moving on all areas. And maybe you'll get to a point where you are so financially stable and now you look at, well, does charity, you know, at the moment I don't have any capacity to be giving other than my time. So I do that kind of stuff. But that like my time is harder to stretch. So I can't wait till I'm in the financial position that I can flip that over to monetary. So I just find that you evolve as a person, your finances and your goals and your values, that the needle's always moving.
Hey team, just popping in to say thanks for listening. If you're enjoying the episode, please take a second to like or follow the show and share it with a friend. It's the best way to help us grow and keep bringing you more great content. All right, let's get back into it. And then what's the position of those clients who, and maybe listening, who aren't necessarily flooding your emails going, you know, this has happened in this crucible moment's happened in my life, I need help. But it's just sitting there and aren't like, and I don't necessarily need you to take me through the 12-step process. What is the first step for them who are just sitting there in the mundane or in the melancholy of not knowing where they're headed?
Yeah. So I always say the first step is if you ask yourself, if I'm still feeling like this in 12 months' time, am I okay with that? If the answer is no, then buy the money reset. But yeah, it's just questioning, is this okay? Because the time is going to pass regardless and it passes so quickly. So if you are not okay with being in the position that you're in, with your fitness, your weight, your health, your happiness, your money, anything, if you ask yourself 12 months' time, start doing something about it. And it doesn't have to be this big overhaul. That's the whole point. It's in 12 steps is you don't need to look from zero to where you need to get to. It's not a marathon. You just look at one step, you know, you just look at that and then you go, cool, I'm done. Do I have capacity to do the next step? I'm going to wait. I'm going to jump around or whatever. But just checking in with yourself and going, if this is still the same in 12 months, am I okay with that? And if the answer is no, you need to make a change. And the other thing, like if you're finding it hard to connect with that and go, well, maybe I will be fine in 12 months, try to think back. So every time we ask somebody, you know, like, I wish I started investing at 18. I wish I bought a house when I was 3. You know, what was I doing at kindy? Like you are always going to wish you started earlier. So I'm 40. I just turned 40 last week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Big one. Very exciting. But
1985, girl.
1985. Quick maths.
No, I'm turned 40.
Oh, okay.
It's a personal indictment as well.
I was like, wow, that was good math. So yes, if you think of your 60-year-old self, will be so happy that you made changes at 40, just like your 20-year-old self. Well, your 40-year-old self is wishing your 20-year-old self did certain things.
Yes.
That time is going to happen. So if you want that
is
version,
a scary proposition of going at I'm 20, what could I have done differently?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
they're probably the same lessons or values or decisions that you probably need to make at 40 if you haven't.
Yeah, because you are going to be, but that's going to be scarier, right? So 20
100%.
to 40, we still go, oh, it's okay, we've got time. At 60, we're going to be going, why didn't I just do that at 40? Because the small changes that you could make are going to be massive, drastic ones at 60 if you haven't done the work.
Why do you think people don't make those small changes? Is it you know, I can appreciate that, you know, if you're not a fitness person, going to the gym or exercising regularly, it's out of your comfort zone, it's challenging, it's not enjoyable either.
Yeah.
What's in the finance game? What's the biggest thing that's holding people back from making positive change?
I believe it's that they can't connect with their future self. That's why I use that example of imagine connecting with your 20-year-old self, because we remember that version of us. Yeah. So I think it's that, but it's also a present bias. Like we have so much going on. We're worried about grocery prices going up. We're worried about our mortgage rates. We're worried about the kids. If you've gone through a divorce, you're worried that you're stuffing the kids up. Like there's all this stuff that is happening today that we go, future me has to wait. But future you can't wait. You need to balance the now and the future. And that is so much easier said than done. I get it. I had to write a book on it because I struggled with it so much. But you just need to try to connect with your future self and realize that it's important. And the earlier you start, it's tiny little changes. The later you leave it, it's massive leaps of uncomfortable, like it's going to be so much harder the longer you leave it. It's never going to be impossible. It's never too late. But just do that for future you. And if you can't connect with future you, think of past you. Like if I think of 20-year-old me, I still like all the same stuff. Very social, love travel, doing all the same stuff. So chances are 60-year-old version of me is going to be the same. She's not going to be sitting on the couch happy with beans on toast and thinking, oh, well, at least I had a good, 40 years before that. Like you are probably going to be the same person that wants the same things, and you need to make sure you're doing things that can support that life.
Okay, let's get into the weeds a little bit.
Are we not already in the weeds?
You're aware of Dave Ramsey?
Yes.
He talks about the 5 steps out of, I guess, financial perilousness or difficulty. American, so it's not skewed to our system of super. But there's nothing in there necessarily that he discusses with risk. When you're struggling you got pressures on the grocery bill, or when you got pressures on you have never done a budget, for example, let's say, and how do you manage someone's expectation or manage the person's risk tolerance when it comes to future-proofing their next 12 months, 20 years, when they're otherwise dealing with so many other pressures in their life?
Yeah, so like the major risk is that you're going to stay in the same position and struggle for the rest of your life. So it's about balance, and I like to break down people. They're already broken usually when they find me. But,
love those clients. With all respect.
No, so it's about unlearning because our brain is trying to protect us at all things. So it shortcuts to the answers to what we feel. So it's about really breaking down why do we have such resistance to these different things? Why are we uncomfortable? Why does that feel like risk to us? So like investing risk, we can generally work out because we have these frameworks, but the risk in our mindset of not doing things and changing different habits, our brain just doesn't work the same with that in my experience. So like just challenging your thoughts. So for example, like everybody gets the ick over the word budget. I'm like, a budget is literally just a plan to tell your money where to go. You could have a budget that says we only spend $100,000 a year on travel. Like your budget doesn't have to be restrictive. If you're doing a money reset and things have gone a bit pear-shaped, chances are you might feel for a period of time it has to be a bit restrictive. And what I say, like when we're working with clients like that, where they might have to cut out, like I had to cut out a lot of luxuries from my life, but I get them to do 2 types of budgets. The bare bones one that is just for now, and then the aspirational budget.
I love that.
And it's like, because we
creates
talked about
purpose almost.
Yeah, and we talked about lifestyle creep before. You don't want any extra money to flow into your life that you don't have a plan for, because then you just spend it and you're like, where did that go? And that's lifestyle creep, lifestyle inflation. But if you're like, okay, when more money comes into my life, the priorities, the things that I had to cut from my budget, these are the things that I'm going to be putting back in first. And maybe it's a gym, maybe it's Netflix. I had to cut a cleaner, and like I know people are probably like, oh, cut the cleaner, but like I know everybody doesn't have a cleaner, but it's a luxury that meant that when I had the kids, I had more time with them. It meant that I could then work on the things that really light me up. And I'm a terrible cleaner. Like I don't do the proper job anyway. So that was one of the things that I was very keen. It was high up on my priority list for that when my cash flow is back at a place I can sustain it, that's going to come back in. My personal training, I had to get rid of that. That could come back in. So there is going to be a period of time and different times in your life where you are going to have restriction, and it's going to feel terrible. But if you have a plan for when that can change, I think that's really, really healthy. And it comes back to risk of not doing stuff. We need to know when things can change and what we're going to do with that opportunity when it comes, even if it's not on the cards for right now.
Do you work with, I guess, bringing it back to fitness and let's say getting healthier? There's two. There's inputs and outputs of energy.
Mhm.
And similarly with budgets, there's the top line and then all the expenses that you can control.
Yes.
What level do you speak with your clients or manage with your clients about how malleable is the top line for them in terms of they're on an income,
Mhm.
but have they thought about investing? Have they thought about starting a side
Yeah.
business or a second job? Or how
A
does that?
huge part of it. Like
Yeah.
with your expenses, there is only so much you can cut. So I gave examples of cutting cleaner, PT. These are all luxuries, right? These are all wants.
Yeah.
I couldn't cut any needs any further. So with everybody, there is going to be a certain amount that you can cut. You can only cut expenses so far. Your income, potential to earn income is uncapped. A lot of people don't believe that, but it absolutely is. Uncapped earning, only so much you can cut. So there's a whole chapter in there about, well, what does that look like? You know, if you are going through a separation, you might need to return to paid work. You might need to increase your hours. You might consider a side hustle. Investing is one of the most powerful things, but you might not have room in your budget to have surplus to invest. But I do talk about, you know, how do you get a pay rise? Do you change jobs? Do you change occupations? Do you ask for a pay rise? So I call them levers. There are levers to reduce your expenses. There's levers to increase your income. And that is a huge part. Like anybody should be doing that, not just when things have gone wrong. Like every single year we could be going, how do we take this up to the next level? And if you are covering your expenses, still increasing your income means that you have more to invest, save, add to extra things that you want, like that bring you happiness and joy. So that should always be something that we're reviewing. We could always be reviewing our expenses, but I think everyone focuses on that. It's like our go-to. Something's gone wrong and we're like, right, what can we cut? But really, if we look at from an abundance kind of mindset, we should be really going, what levers can I pull to increase my income?
And to get past, in your experience, to get a level of security with in the immediate expenses of the budget, how much would you suggest people should be, before they start investing, should they have in their readily accessible bank account?
It's so hard. So I always say you want your foundations covered first. You want to know what's coming in, what's coming out, like going out. An emergency fund is important, but it really depends on your situation. Like if you ask most financial experts, they're like, 3 to 6 months of your baseline expenses is a good emergency fund. And I agree. But also, I don't think you need to get to that before you start investing. I think you can be doing a bit of both. Like maybe you got to $1,000 in your emergency fund, and based on your sick leave and different levers that you've got, maybe you've got a really supportive family. Maybe you know it's different for everybody. So I think you need to get to a point, and I call it your sleep at night test in the book. You get to a point, where you're like, okay, I'm cool with $1,000 because if the car breaks down or the kids whatever. I'm now going to split my surplus. I'm going to be doing some investing because that is really valuable, even if it's a small amount, because you're learning, you're getting comfortable, you're on this learning curve. So even if it's $5 a week, a month, the value is not the monetary value with that. It's the learning, the experience, the confidence. Yeah, you feeling like you are an investor and looking after your future self. So I go, maybe you get to $1,000. And then you go, where do I want my emergency fund to go to? How much surplus do I have? Can I be doing a little bit of both? And that's the same way people will often go, I've got surplus. Should I pay down my home loan or should I invest?
Great question.
And I'm like, well, there's value in both, but could you do a little bit of both? Because there is there's always going to be the best thing that you can do on financial, like on a spreadsheet, right? I could calculate which way is better if we knew what the market's going to do.
Yes.
But that's not the point. The point is your confidence, your growth, what's going to excite you, motivate you. Like there's all these other layers to finance that are not mathematical.
I know that we reference risk tolerance being individual, but how can someone become, I guess, have more control of their risk tolerance and increase their risk tolerance? Because any investment, there's an element of risk.
Yes. But there's a huge risk of not doing anything.
It's risky no matter what. Sitting in your corner with your money in your mattress is horrifically risky.
Yes, absolutely.
Like I struggle personally with stocks over property because stocks I can see it daily, whereas property you don't see a green or red ticker.
So are you pro shares or property?
Well, I'm pro both,
Yeah.
but personally,
But you're more comfortable.
I'm way more comfortable in property.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because I
And
struggle
that's
only
what
because
we
I
see.
struggle with the data so readily accessible
Mhm.
about it, and so I'd have to not see
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
the number in the stocks like I would with the property to go,
Mhm.
it is what it is. It'll sort itself out.
Yeah. Like I talk about financial flexibility, building in different layers and you identifying what money is for what jobs. So you could be like, well, here's a share portfolio that has a set amount. I want to get to a set amount. Okay, so if we think about layers, these are all long-term investments, but with your super, I'm very big fan of super. We've got an amazing system in Australia. You can't access it till you're 60 plus, and that might move, right? So there's a risk there, but it's a great system. It's very tax effective, and we should all be utilizing it. But we want to have these different layers. So we want you to have money that you can access that if you decide to retire at 58, 55, 50, there's that layer that you then live off, and it is part of the plan. Super's still very much part of the plan. So with property, you would have to sell that property. You can't sell a bathroom. So maybe you have different layers that you're like, I want to build up a share portfolio to 100 grand because that would be a year, or two if I retired early. That would buy me some time to sell a property if I want it. So it's just like having you compartmentalizing in your brain what this money's job is for. And I think that really helps people when they are feeling more comfortable with risk, is going, well, I've got these different buckets, but they have different jobs. I find that back to the emergency fund, a lot of the time people will say to me, I just hate having it sitting there because it's doing nothing. And that might be they feel it's sitting on their offset account or it's in a bank account and they feel it's doing nothing, and they might be getting 4% return and they see the share market's done 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
But it isn't doing nothing. Its job is safety, security, and
sleep at night.
A sleep at night test. So you need to start thinking of that money of its actual purpose, not its return, because it's a different layer of your situation. So I'm just like, we need to start thinking of things as what job they do, not always the monetary mass. Has it performed the best it could? Because its performance is your ability to fund a really fridge breaking, car breaking down, an emergency.
I love that. What's one habit or system your clients most often resist that ends up being the biggest breakthrough for them? Is it budgeting?
Ooh.
Is it just simply changing their mindset?
So I'm going to say mindset always, but I'm a very pragmatic, practical person. So while there is so much mindset stuff in the book, if somebody came to me with really needed to do a lot of work on their mindset, because I more do those one-offs, I would actually send them to a behavioral money coach who can really dive in and work with them for a long time. So usually if that's a big thing, I kind of move them to someone that I know is going to be a much better fit for them. But yeah, I do cover it all in the book of each different layer. But because I'm so pragmatic, I would say the budget thing. And I think that a lot of the time people go, oh, fine, finance people say I've got to have a budget, so I did one. It didn't work for me. So I'm like, cool, you got a budget, but you actually need the system to support it. So I work a lot with clients on, cool, you know your expenses now, but what's the system that every single day is going to keep you on track? Does that mean, how do you group those expenses together? What bank accounts do they come out of? What card do you use? Do you set it up that it feels like you get paid weekly, even though you get paid fortnightly, monthly? Like there's no set formula that I go, this is how you're going to do it. I wait till I meet them.
System.
We work out how their life works, what triggers them. Like some people are spenders, some are savers, and we work out like what are the little habits that we don't want to, like, it would be great to rewrite them all night, like overnight, if I said, just don't do that anymore. But it's not going to happen. So we go, all right, well, what are your triggers? How do you manage things now? What can we tweak and how can we set the system up so that it takes out your need for discipline and it just kind of works? And that takes time. But that's probably where I work most with clients, and they have that aha moment. Is they're like, I did a budget, it didn't work. And I'm like, cool, we didn't do the system. You need to find a system that works for you so that it's as autopilot as possible.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then finally, if there's someone listening today that thinks, I've just failed with money, what's their first action step other than buying a copy of the Money Reset?
Yeah, nobody has failed, and it's never too late to start. So I would be asking yourself that question. If I still feel like I'm a failure with money in a year's time,
am I okay with that?
Yeah, am I okay with that? And the first thing then, if that's a no, the first thing I would do is, what's the one area that I'm most stressed about? Because, for me it might be, I'm really worried about retirement, super. And other people might be like, I'm so stressed about this debt, or I literally get anxiety every time an email comes into my inbox because it might be a bill. Just try to pinpoint the one thing that is making you most concerned and start there. Fantastic. You don't have to overhaul everything. You don't need to be the next Warren Buffett. Like, just pick the one thing that you think is keeping you up at night the most. Tackle that first.
Tick it off.
And then you can go to then you can get the other 12 steps done.
Love that. All right, Gem, final quick fire 5 questions. So I've been told by codes to make sure the answers are as quickly as you.
Okay, got it.
What comes in your mind?
Okay.
What does success mean to you?
Happiness now. Used to be money.
All right then. What does happiness mean to you?
Safety, security, time with my family and friends.
And so the success piece is the outcome of that.
Yeah. I'm owning my own time, I would say.
You've answered the third question, which is, what is something on a billboard you would tell to your younger self that the world could see?
I say this quite a lot. I would tell myself to be more, give myself more compassion. Don't be so hard on yourself.
I think you said earlier, relax.
Yeah, just chill out, mate.
Chill out. Chill out.
I would have a lot more compassion for myself.
What does your morning routine normally look like?
Stumble out of bed, yell at the kids to get out of bed. 6. So get up at 6, and I will have about 3 cups of tea before I get started. I like to jump straight on my laptop while I'm having my cups of tea and do like emails. Sometimes I'll write blogs or whatever. But yeah, I like a bit of a slow start, 3 cups of tea.
And then finally, a guest that you think would be great to have on the show.
Ooh, so many. Do you know who's amazing? Tracy Hall wrote a book called The Last Victim.
Okay.
She was the first person I ever interviewed on the Australian Finance Podcast. I was so nervous, and she was an absolute pro. She had over $300,000 of her life savings stolen by someone she met online who was her boyfriend for 18 months. Amazing story. She's rebuilt, and now she does all these amazing things. She's amazing.
Where is she based?
She's in Sydney, and now she's one of my good friends. All from that interview. She's amazing. You got to read the book.
Okay.
The Last Victim, Tracy Hall. So inspiring.
We'll get her up.
That's
great. Gem, thank you so much. You have so many balls in the air, and I really appreciate your time. You're a busy girl, but keep doing what you're doing, because there is obviously such a huge gap in the market for those people, and I think you're amazing.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was another episode of the Success Times Happiness podcast. Next time you're planning out your financial goals, turn to the person next to you and tell them all about the show. It really means a lot. A huge thank you to Gemma Mitchell for sharing her wisdom, her story, and practical strategies from her book, The Money Reset. Remember, money isn't the end goal. It's a tool to help you live happier, healthier, and wealthier. If today's conversation resonated with you, take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, or share the episode with a friend who might need a reset of their own. Until next time, peace.